What's up, everyone? It's Matt Rosick, and it's been a while since I've done any videos, but since this is a kind of a cool piece and I haven't seen any of these done yet, I figured I'd try to do some videos on it. This is the Age of Apocalypse Colossus piece put out by DXA Designs. So over the weekend, I washed everything, gave everything a good, scrub and soapy water and stuff. And the first color I've got as paint is the chrome areas of the kit. So yesterday I sprayed on some Krylon Max Gloss Black, which would have been great, but I got a bunch of fish eyes. So unfortunately, when that happens, the only way to fix it, it happened on the first few pieces. So I stripped them down with lacquer thinner and I resprayed them and they seemed to work out okay. So then I went through and I cleaned everything with lacquer thinner and I tried to spray it on again and I still got fish eyes. So there's something going on with the paint because the pieces are clean. So now I'm stuck going through and having to sand these suckers to get the fish eyes out. So I'm just using some water and some 2000 grit sandpaper and I'm giving everything a light sanding to get everything smooth again. And it's not the end of the world. It's just like, it just sucks. And fish eyes are typically caused when there's something dirty on the surface because it's like a fish eye. If you don't know what that is, I'm just going to bring it in and show it to you. Like right in here, you see like they're like little circles. And typically what happens is if there's a spot of dust or oil on the surface, that's where the paint separates from that spot of dirt. But again, I've washed these things in how I normally wash things. So there's something going on with the paint. I have a few pieces that turned out okay, like the hands turned out okay, so I don't need to worry about those. This leg turned out okay. So it's just annoying. So I'm sanding off. I have to sand the torso. Got to sand this leg. So yeah, it just kind of sucks. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I could go in here with this super fine sanding sponge, but that's a little aggressive. It's like a 600 sandpaper. It's a little too aggressive. I got this ultra fine, which works good, but I don't have any new ultra fine sanding sponges, so these have been used quite a bit, and they're not cutting it quite as much as I want. The great thing about these is that they're not overly aggressive, but it's not being quite aggressive enough. So I'm sticking with a 2000 grit sandpaper, some water, and I'm going through and I'm sanding these, and this is going to look really shitty before I can do anything else. So you got to go through, sand all the areas that are jacked up. And then I'm going to just go back to my Mr. Color gloss paint. I was trying to save some money by using a rattle can, and it's just causing me more work. So, yeah, rattle can, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of rattle cans. I don't use them. I hardly ever use them. I'll use the flat black quite a bit as a base coat for like on bases and stuff. I'm doing stone work. Flat black, I never have any issues. It's when I go to the gloss finishes that I typically have an issue like this fisheye thing. And the thing about a gloss is you have to put it on a wet to get it to dry glossy. You can't put it on like light coats because by the time the first coat dries, it's speckly and it's got texture to it, which means you just got to put on the second coat heavier. So maybe I just put it on too wet and it didn't like it. I don't know. So I'm stuck sitting here sanding these down, getting them ready to spray on my Mr. Color Gloss Black. I will spray everything, even those parts over here that are okay. I will spray everything with the Mr. Color Gloss Black so it's all the same sheen and the same black because like black, there's a million shades of black and there's a million shades of white. So I just want to make sure it's all consistent. So I'm going to sand all this down and then I'm going to spray on Mr. Color Gloss Black when I'm ready to do that. Okay, so now we're in the spray booth. I sanded everything down with the 2000 grit sandpaper, gave everything a bath again, blew it all off. Now I'm using some Mr. Color Gloss Black in my Iwata HPTH spray gun, and we're just laying this on here nice and wet. Sorry, I just kicked the tripod. And it's not going to be like a mirror gloss, but it's going to be pretty close. It'll be a good surface for this Spastex Chrome. Because again, Colossus he's not chrome. He's kind of like a polished aluminum, if anything. I don't like them chromed. So I'm kind of going for kind of what I did on the Gravin Labs Colossus a couple of years ago. But I never get paint reactions with Mr. Color paint. So I should just stick with it because I'm just trying to do a shortcut with the rattle can. It costs more work than anything. So I got a bunch of paint mixed up over here to the side. I've already put one coat on all the other parts. So after the torso, I'll go through and put one more coat on everything. So I've got 2 coats of paint. And then we'll let everything dry for a couple hours. And then we'll spray on the Spastex Chrome. And that's a rattle can. And that I've had success with before. It's actually really good. And it's a lacquer based. I think it's lacquer based. But you can see I'm putting this on pretty wet. Once the flow, and this is a lacquer paint, so it dries relatively quick. So I want to put it on pretty wet. But this looks much better than the rattle can finish I had going on. None of those fish eyes. If anything, the surface is smoother now because that first coat of paint basically acted like a black primer. And I'm just going in here and after sanding it, painting it again. So that's one coat on those. Here's the face plate. So after one coat, we're going to put on a second coat, nice and wet. Like that. Feet. Second coat. I don't care about anything that's going on with the rest of the part as far as like the boot and everything. So that's all going to get masked off and painted later. So all I care about is the area is going to go chrome. I don't care what's happening anywhere else. So right now what you're seeing is the second coat on these parts. And I'll be able to put the Spastex on today and polish it out. So now the hands, for whatever reason, I didn't get any orange. I did spray these and I got a little bit of fisheye, and then I stripped them and painted them again, but I didn't get any fisheyes. But I went ahead and painted them again, anyway, with the Mr. Color Black, just so it's all the same finish and everything. So we're gonna put another coat on these guys. So again, this is the second coat on these. DXA Designs puts out an excellent kit, and their pricing is actually really good for what you get. They use ownage, so the fact they're using ownage factory. I think they only offer kits; they don't offer pre-paints. My friend Demetrios runs the DXA Designs. I'm just showing you real quick the second coat. Like this has one coat on it. It's pretty shiny, but we're going to put a second coat on. Just to make sure we got good coverage. I'm going to be redoing my spray room hopefully in the next 6 months or so. I need to make it big, like the spray booth bigger fans, better ventilation, because these things just keep getting bigger. All right, there's 2 coats on there. I almost missed the part on the shin here that goes chrome too. There's a little part in between the armor that goes the chrome. Okay, we're out of paint. I got just enough paint to do what I gotta do. 2 coats on everything. You can see I'm pretty close. I got my trigger dialed down. It's not wide open. It's probably about halfway. I don't want to hose the paint on, but I want to put it on wet. And I've got it atomizing. I got the air pressure turned up a little bit, so it atomizes a little bit better. But I'm spraying pretty close. Since this paint dries pretty quick and it's warm in here, I want to make sure I get keep my overlap wet. So make sure I keep a wet edge. That's why I spray so fast. But by the time I get done with the second coat on all these, I can second coat the torso and then we'll have the black base coat done. And then we'll let it dry for a couple hours. But it is warm. My spray room gets pretty warm because there's no air conditioning in here. And I've got a big hole up in the ceiling where I've got my spray booth vented. But I get a lot of heat coming in from the attic through that vent. So. And it gets warm here in Texas, so the spray room gets pretty warm. All right, so let's take a coat on that. Then we'll do the torso, and the black will be done. And I'll show you the paint I tried to use as a rattle can. It didn't work out so well. So now I'm just going to open up my airbrush a little bit more because it's such a big piece. I do want a little more paint coming out because it's hard to paint such a big piece relatively quick. I need to close my. And I'm not wearing a. Should be wearing a mask right now, but I'm not, so I can talk. But I've got pretty good ventilation in here. I mean, it sucks out most of the fumes and everything. So my fan's going on 5 years old, and I stopped putting a filter in because I have a ton of clean filters out like every day. Hopefully you guys can see that going on pretty nice and smooth. I love these Iwata HPTH guns with the fan tip. Man, it's a mini HVLP gun is what it is. They spray awesome. It's my favorite, probably one of my favorite airbrushes. Not sure if I'm in frame right there, but so this video will just be the chrome, getting the chrome on. That's the first major step on this process. So there you go. There's all the black spray. Like I said, we'll let this dry for 2 or 3 hours, and then I'll show you the Spaztec. Putting that on. Forgot to show you. This is the round can I used initially to try to get a gloss black. So I was getting a lot of fish eyes. It does dry really nice and shiny, but I was getting a lot of fish eyes even after washing everything really good. And when I wash my parts, I usually wash them twice. I'll scrub them down with soap and water, rinse them, and then wash them again. So I don't know what's going on, why I was getting such bad reactions with this stuff, but I was. So yeah, I'm not going to try that again on these. So we'll come back and shoot chrome in a little while. Okay, back in the booth. So I'm going to show you using Spaztec's mirror chrome. So this is what I used on the Gravin Labs Colossus a couple years ago, and it worked really well. So I'm just going to show you one piece because I'm going to close the door, put a mask on so I don't inhale this stuff. It's expensive. This one can's $13. I bought 2 cans of it. I'm hoping 1 can's enough, but I bought 2 just in case. They also make their own gloss black, which I can't remember. I have used it before, but I can't remember when I used it. I'm not sure. I can't tell. I don't know if it's a lacquer base. They didn't tell you on the can what kind of paint it is. It just says ready to use. But this does dry pretty damn glossy. I'm gonna have to test this stuff out because I remember this drying really nice and shiny. Again, this is expensive too. This one can is like $9, where the Krylon's like $3. So, but anyway, you want to shake it up really good. And I'll show you on one of the hands. And I gotta get my parts organized for me to get to them easily. One second. Sorry. So I let the black dry for about an hour. It's dry to the touch. It should be fine. And I am going to do some shading on this too. Pick it up. All right, so I'm going to put a mask on so I don't inhale the stuff. And it comes out pretty nice. Let me put glove on so I can throw them over my hand. My paint booth's a mess, as you can see. I haven't cleaned it in a while. I don't spray a whole lot in here anymore. I spray most of the stuff at my desk. All right, so here's one of the hands. After we did the Mr. Color gloss black, is actually pretty nice and shiny. That second coat really glossed up nicely. There we go. So there's one coat, and you can see it's not a mirror finish, but you can. I'm going to put 2 coats on everything, and then once it dries, you buff it out. It shines up a little bit more. So I'll just show you these parts as I'm in here. Just put it on. I mean, there's nothing real technique to it. Just kind of put it on even. Now you do have to make sure you spray it in all different directions because you got all these grooves and everything in the muscles. So you make sure you turn the parts a lot and spray from all directions. This will give you a nice polished and metal look when I'm done. not going to be mirror chrome, which is not what I'm going for. It goes on quick. So if we do function next. Guy's heavy. Really high quality kit. So one coat. We'll go ahead and do a second coat real quick on everything. So you want to, so as you said, let dry 10 to 15 minutes to dry. Spray spots, regular, so 15-20 minutes to dry, it says. I'm just dry to the touch already. It's a lacquer paint, so it dries pretty quick. I'll have to dip into the second can for a second coat to finish the second coat, I think. That can's gone. I have a second can somewhere. What do I do with it? Hold on. Here's my second can. I'm doing 2 coats just to make sure you have good coverage. I'll do the torso. And then we'll have this done. And then there we go. So that's spring Spastex. Nothing too crazy. Just put it on, nice and even coverage. Let this dry for 30 minutes or so. Then we'll polish it out, and then I'll either seal it and then do the shading, or I'll do some shading then seal it. I haven't decided yet. Okay, now what I'm doing, I haven't sealed this yet. I'm going in with some clear black and clear smoke that I mixed up a while ago for shading. I'm just going to add some dimension to this so it's not all just this bright silver, which will dull it down a little bit, darken it down just a hair, which is good, I think. So I'm just kind of going in here and hitting the muscles, adding some shadows here and there. It's going to be subtle, because once I seal this, it'll, I'm going to put a triple thick, it's called triple thick glaze. It's like an acrylic clear. So I'm not sure if you can see there, but I add some shading around the boot. And just the muscles. I'm not going in and like hitting all the lines and stuff. I don't want to do that. Maybe easier to see on one of the hands. Let me get a glove on. Get fingerprints on this. So you can see I don't have a whole lot of paint coming in. I use my glove kind of as a test bed for paint. I'm just coming in here and hitting some of the muscles. Just to give a little more shape to this piece. Hit between the fingers. Like that. It's a pretty subtle effect on this polished metal look. And it will darken the metal down just a little bit because the overspray kind of gets on stuff and it just darkens it down a little bit, which is fine. I'm not going to show a whole lot of this because it's time consuming. You'll get the idea. I'm gonna bring out these little details on his hands a little bit. Kind of like them. He's sculpted in what we call knuckles. So that right here in this theory, that's kind of what, to me, what a Colossus metal looks like. It's polished. It's a polished metal. I really like the way Colossus looks in Deadpool. I know this isn't that Colossus, but I like the way the metal looks in that Deadpool. And I asked my client if I had kind of, if I'm able to put my own take on it, and they said, yep, go ahead. So he gave me reference photos from the comic, and I said, can I do my own thing, my own interpretation? He said, yep, go ahead. So let's do one hand on camera here, and then you get the idea of what's going on. That's looking really nice. Again, I have very little paint coming out of my airbrush. Up just a little bit. A little bit of a muscle right here, so we're just going to darken it down a little bit. And then we're going to, I always like to kind of hit wherever it keys into another part. So there you go. So that's kind of what that hand looks like. Let me show you what the other one looks like without any shading. So the one, this side's been shaded, this side has not. So darkened it down a little bit, warmed it up a little bit, and I'm really digging that. So the only time I really hit one of these lines in his body is if it's a muscle. So there you go. So there's that process. So I'll do that to all the other pieces. And then we'll seal them really good. And they'll have to dry quite a while before I can do any masking. I think I gotta let them dry at least 24 hours. So I'm also doing a shadow cat for this client. So I'm doing it right after this piece. I probably won't do any videos on it, but the bases need to match, so I'll do the bases at the same time. So once this guy's all done, I'm ready to do the base. I'll do the shadow cat base at the same time because they want the colors to match and everything. So there you go. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna shade these, and then We'll seal them all and take a look after that. Okay, so sticking with what I did on the Gravin Labs Colossus, I'm using All Cloud Aqua Gloss Clear. It's an acrylic clear to coat everything. So I've already put one coat on everything. And you put like two. You can't spray this stuff wet because it's an acrylic. It'll run really quick. So I'm doing like two medium coats, two medium wet coats. Not super wet, not like you're spraying a 2K automotive clear, but spanning it on. And you know you got too much on there because you'll see it'll turn like blue, which means it's starting to pool a little bit, so you just got to be careful, back off. So I'm just putting the second coat on everything. And then once that's done, we'll let it dry for a while, and then we'll take a look at it and see what the metal looks like. Okay, so after the aqua gloss is dry for a little bit, this is what we got. So this needs to sit overnight at least before I can do any masking, but you can see this has a nice kind of, it's not super high gloss. It's got a nice kind of light sheen to it. The shading looks good. So this is kind of like what I like for a Colossus. It's got some nice, it's not too bright silver. It's not chrome, but this looks really good, I think. So yeah, I got this dry at least overnight because the next step I got to do is lots of masking. So I contemplated doing the knee pads and stuff in metallic red, but I think I'm going to stick with the kind of leather red. And it's got a bunch of these cool little details on here. I'll probably do these in like a metal of some sort. And he's got all these straps on the back. So red leather for the knee pads and stuff and the elbow pads. And then maybe a slightly different red for like the straps and stuff. These are like a different leather. So yeah, because like the color reference, these two colors, he's like silver / chrome and red. But we're going to break it up a little bit and do some other colors. But yeah, I think this looks really good. So that's it for this work in progress. So I'll get this uploaded tonight, and for anyone who wants to watch it, take a look. But this is kind of how I do Colossus metal. I think it looks good. And there you go. So the next work in progress will be some masking. So I'll have this dry overnight. I'll do a tape test and make sure I can mask on top of it and go from there. So thanks for watching. Bye.